Hello, everybody. I am super stoked today for my guest here on hashtag no limits. Hashtag no limits is about people who society has placed limits upon, but who have bust through those limits. As a special education teacher and as an education consultant and master IEP coach now, I see these limits that people have all the time. And I've also had the great privilege of seeing all sorts of people bust through those limits. And since I have started doing hashtag no limits, my horizons have been expanded even more. And I hope that the same thing has happened for you. If you are joining us live, please hashtag live in the comments. If you are watching on the replay, hashtag replay. If you are watching from my Facebook group, No Limits, Changing the World's Perspectives of Special Needs through IEPs, please make sure to give StreamYard permission to post your picture and your profile name. They do that out of respect for your privacy since the group is a private group. Otherwise, if you comment, I may not know who you are or we may not know who you are. I have to admit that the group that we are going to talk about today is a group that I had placed a limit on. And when I talk about limits, anyone who's joined me before knows that I'm not talking about actual physical limitations that people have, but it's the idea that someone can't do a certain thing based on their abilities. And so today I'm super, super excited because I have so many questions for myself to have Jeff Vann. He is the president of the St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. So blind hockey, I got to admit, I never thought that that would be something I would ever talk about. So Jeff, thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us and joining us early. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you started into this blind hockey club.
Well, I played hockey when I was in high school, and got married and had kids, and have my kids gotten involved in hockey, and I've grown up, with them coaching hockey and been involved in it for many years now. And so my wife and I have another project that we're working on, Spirit of Discovery Park, which is actually an amusement park we're working on in the St. Louis area that's built for people with all abilities. So the entire place is going to have engineering and design specifically for people who have disabilities and special needs and everything, as well as their families and friends come along.
That is so awesome.
So selfishly, I'm like, hey, I want an ice rink in this deal, if I have a say in it, right? So I had seen, sled hockey and special hockey. We had seen curling even, I think, out of Indianapolis. It was done with people with special needs and stuff. So I was thinking, hey, this would be really cool. Plus, in St. Louis, this hockey is growing so rapidly because the Blues had won the Stanley Cup. Little plug there. That it would get rented out as well from the community. So I thought it was a good idea. And this was, hey, the sky's the limit. We're doing an ice rink too, right? So
absolutely.
Anyway, there was a friend of ours now, I got introduced to, Sean Bora, who is a gentleman who is visually impaired, and got to know him, got to become friends with him, and he introduced me to blind hockey, which I had never heard of. And just like you, was like, what are you talking about, right? So he said, well, hey, I've been talking to this guy, Bruce Porter, over in Washington, D.C., who's with the Blinded Veterans Association. And he's telling me that he can help us start a program. I just need somebody to help me do that. And so my eyes kind of raised up, and I said, well, tell me more, right? And so essentially he put us in touch with Bruce, and Bruce told us about blind hockey, how it's been in Canada for 40 plus years.
Wow.
And he was trying to help grow the sport in the United States. And so he was willing to fly from Washington, D.C. at his expense and get us set up for a Try It for Free event. So, and by the way, when I'm name dropping all these people, it's because I want to say thank you to all the volunteers who have helped us throughout this journey, because there's been a tremendous amount of people, and it's just too hard to go through a list. So anyway, Bruce Porter and all that. So Kirkwood Youth Hockey is who we're affiliated with for my kids and growing up through. Tremendous organization. They jumped on board really quick with giving us ice time and no shortage of volunteers. Emo's Pizza here locally, it's a St. Louis style pizza. They donated food and drink. And so we put out flyers or Facebook and all this kind of stuff. And Bruce flew in. He brought, I don't know if you've ever seen a hockey bag before, but he carried like 4 or 5 of these hockey bags full of equipment that we were going to outfit people with that showed up to try to play hockey. So, and it was really what we would call a stick and puck. So a lot of people had never skated before. Some people had never played hockey before, so it was a lot of different challenges. But we ended up just getting people in equipment, put ice skates on them, gave some of them a puck and stick, and others we were just working on skating. Some we put in chairs and push around, but just gave them the experience of being out on the ice, feeling the wind in their face, and getting the enjoyment of what hockey was. And at the same time, introducing a bunch of people who played and coached hockey for a lifetime and never heard of such a thing. So we had about 17 people show up to learn how to play. These were participants, and we had probably double the volunteers, and there was not a dry eye in sight by the time it was over. It was a pretty amazing thing. And, when we walked out of the door, Bruce was like, looks like you got enough interest. I'm going to leave all this stuff with you and see ya. So that's where it started. Sean and I, got together and with the various volunteers and things, and we arranged another learn to play that we were going to do the day after Thanksgiving that year. And coincidentally, through luck, Steve Chapman he happens to be one of the VPs for the St. Louis Blues. His son and my son play hockey together, and so I've known Steve for a few years. And so I said, hey, what about this? Can we sit down and have lunch? And so we met. Sean and I met Steve for lunch, and he said, well, I'm not going to make any promises, but it sounds like something really, really neat that we would want to be involved in. And so we had the Try It for Free event that Friday after Thanksgiving, and the CEO of the Blues, Chris Zimmerman, and his wife, Emily Birch, came, and a friend of theirs, Michael Lowenbaum, Randy Gersh is one of the VPs also. They all showed up and watched, and it was kind of a ragtag event, people with mismatched uniforms and mismatched socks and volunteers from all over, not knowing what they're doing, but, basically just making a go of it. And it wasn't long after that the Blues said, we want to be a part of this. What can we do for you? And really the main thing that we wanted from them, was, getting the word out, trying to recruit players, growing the program. Most importantly, it was to be able to wear the blue note, have their colors, and be able to be called St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. So they were very gracious. They invited us down to, I guess it's Enterprise now. It was Savas Center, I think, at the time, but invited us down to skate on their home ice. Wow. And Barrett Jackman, one of the Blues defensemen, was there, and Chris Zimmerman and Tom Stillman, one of the owners, or the owner. They all came down and skated with us, along with all the volunteers, and that's when they announced to the group that you're going to be able to be called the St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. So, from there, the Spirited Discovery Park actually was the corporation, so to speak, the nonprofit that this was all under at the time. And so, we decided as a board, like, hey, this thing's going to kind of take off on its own. We need to make it its own entity. So we formed an LLC. We got a board put together. We elected bylaws and filed for 501c3 status. And so now we're our own nonprofit, St. Louis Blind Hockey Association, doing business as St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. So that's kind of where it started, and we've been rolling ever since.
That is so amazing. And I'm still picturing the gentleman coming from Washington, D.C. with these 4 ginormous, because hockey bags are not
They're
small.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean, they're, and to have 4 of them, um,
Yeah.
I mean, it either was a really large guy or he was really dwarfed by all of these bags.
Yeah, he definitely had to get one of those little carts, I'm sure, as he was going
Yeah.
through the airport. Probably getting a few funny looks.
Yeah.
So
And how wonderful that the St. Louis Blues organization saw the value and wanted to be a part of that. That that speaks volumes. I don't know if anybody can really see it, but I'm wearing a Blues, and this is an old one. This is my husband's, probably from the early 1990s, and so that's awesome that they would just do that. I know there's a lot of big names that do a lot of great things, and but I don't know how many whole organizations get
yeah,
behind something.
yeah, they've been fantastic because it really is an honor to be able to represent them, and be able to wear the blue note. I mean, it's really cool to be able to put the jersey on, and we'll talk about the jerseys in a little bit, but it's really special. And the Blues, and I mean, not only for us, but there used to be a team called the St. Louis Locomotives. It's a special hockey group. Now they're now the St. Louis Blues special hockey team, and they've got a warrior hockey and a sled hockey team as well that
Wow.
the Blues are also helping out. So they've been very giving to the community. One of the things with the ownership and the management that they've had as of late, I mean, it's been unbelievable what they do for the community and their involvement with youth hockey and everything that they've been like a leader, I would guess, among all NHL teams as to how you're supposed to treat the community. So
Yeah,
we've been very fortunate, no doubt.
that's fabulous. So, all right, I'm gonna have to be honest here. I can't skate. I've tried, and we've gone to Steinberg Rink a few times, and I'm that one that is just right along the wall, all the way around the rink. And so, part of mine is the balancing, just feeling like I am sturdy on the skates. So how do you teach your players? I mean, because you said when you mentioned the first time, some people had never played hockey, some people had never been on skates. So is there a different kind of method, or is it just, hey, trust me, here we go?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, imagine that feeling you had, and now close your eyes,
Right.
and not know where you are, or not have a reference, and
Right.
So number one, we pad them up. So we try to break the fall as much as we can. And just like anybody else that you're teaching hockey, they have to understand that they're going to be really good at falling down, and they're going to learn to get really good at getting back up. So that's one of the first things we do is make sure they know that it's okay to fall down. And we even make them fall down on purpose so that they have faith in the gear that they're wearing, and it takes away some of the fear that's inside. Because it's even for somebody who is sighted, to fall down, ice is hard, right? And there's
Right.
nothing to break your fall on, and so you hit with full force. It almost feels like it's harder than concrete. So
Yeah.
to give them some confidence in their gear and stuff is a key step to that, and make sure they're comfortable with that. And then just let them understand it's like a baby learning how to walk all over again. If you watch a baby, when they're first trying that out, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, parents picking them up, and they keep falling, parents picking them up. Eventually, their body just kind of figures it out. And that's literally what learning how to skate is like. You have to put the skates on. You have to be willing to get out there, fall down, get back up, and just keep going. And eventually, the muscles start figuring out. Eventually, you start getting balance, and of course, we have tricks that we can do. We can, if you're a youngster, you can push a bucket around. You can hold on to the wall and go around the perimeter. We just had a guy 3 or 4 weeks ago who came out for one of our last 2 sessions and never skated before in his life. His legs were shaking and trembling, and he would be out there for maybe 3 minutes before he'd have to take a break. And by the end of the second session, he was skating around pushing a goal. So we'd have a full-size goal, have his hands on the goal, and he was just kind of like a walker almost, but he's a big 6'2" adult. So he was just pushing that thing around, and he had advanced from not even being able to stand up to pushing this net around in just 2 sessions. So
That's
we tell
awesome.
people all the time that there's no experience required, not even for ice skating. Come out and try it. We don't, if you're interested in it, and I know this goes for the 19 clubs around town or around the country, that if you're interested in playing blind hockey, there shouldn't be anything that holds you back. And that includes not knowing how to ice skate.
That's awesome. So the 19 clubs. So there are other clubs around the country that are blind hockey clubs?
Yeah, since it started a few years ago, there's been 19 organizations. I can't name them all, but they're, Chicago is a huge one. We don't like them very much,
Right, right, of course.
but they're there. We got to deal with it. Pittsburgh, Maine, North Carolina, Colorado. There's a couple of them out west, Dallas. I think there's one in California. They're Minnesota. They're all over the place, and I apologize to the ones that I didn't name, but I will tell you that I'll put the list up on my on our website, stlbbhc.com, St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club.com. You can have that resource, and obviously I'm always available if someone is trying to find a club. I can help them find it. But so yeah, another exciting thing is that they're working to make this a Paralympic sport, and so USA now has an official USA blind hockey team, and there's a Canadian blind hockey team. Those are the two countries that have official, national teams that are competing, and so it's grown in a few short years in the United States from, one in Washington and one in Chicago and Pittsburgh to 19 clubs and a national team. So
yeah, that's amazing. So out of those clubs, are you the only ones affiliated with a major team?
Chicago is Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, yeah. You didn't have to say their name.
Right. And Colorado, Pittsburgh was at one time. And again, I apologize. I can't remember who all.
No,
I believe Minnesota Wild is involved with them up there. But yeah, there are other NHL organizations that are involved in it, and they do a good job as well. Obviously, we'd like to see every city with an NHL team have their team affiliated at some level, but
sure,
all in due time.
Yeah, well, and we know that our team affiliation is the best one around the country, and everybody should learn from us.
Without a doubt.
That's a no-brainer. So here's a question, and this is a question that I have. How do they manage to find and hit a hockey puck? I've watched a few games, and they are so fast-paced, it's really hard to follow the puck.
Great question. I just so happen to have some pucks here that you can see. So this is a regular ice hockey puck. It's made out of rubber, and it's 3 inches in diameter and 1 inch thick. This is a blind hockey puck.
Okay.
It is 5.5 inches around and just under 2 inches thick. This one has ball bearings. It's made out of metal and has ball bearings in it, so it makes noise. So when you hit this thing, it slides around and like a rattle makes noise. When we do a face-off, the referee will start the face-off by shaking the puck, letting everybody know we're getting ready to do a face-off. And then they drop a puck, just like in a regular hockey game. This one makes the noise, obviously, the loud banging and crashing that it makes every time that it gets hit by a stick or hits the wall or goalpost or something like that. They have some special rules. Well, let me back up. Because it's bigger and it's got more surface area, it moves slower. So it is still a fast-moving game, but this puck will not move as fast as a regular hockey puck, and that's intentional. Sure. Because it helps people track it and keep out where it is on the ice. So, but there are a couple of rules in place to help players track it. So if you're familiar with hockey, there's a red line that goes in the middle, and then there's a blue line that on either side that separates what would be the offensive zone or defensive zone, depending on where you're going. So as a team carries the puck across the blue line into the offensive zone, they have to complete one pass before they can take a shot. Okay, so what that does is it allows the puck to make noise, and for the goaltenders and the defensemen to understand where it is and help track where it is. And so once that pass is completed, there's an audible pass whistle that's sound off by the referee who says, okay, everyone has been in the offensive zone or defensive zone and they hear the puck moving and they've had an opportunity to track where it is. You're now free to shoot. So there has to be a completed pass. So it's kind of interesting if you get a breakaway.
Yeah.
You kind of got to wait for somebody to come in to pass to.
Oh, well,
so that's an interesting deal. But
yeah,
you know, a pass can be, you know, dumping it in and rimming it around the boards, and one of your teammates goes in, you know, below the net and picks it up. That counts as a pass. It can also be a very traditional pass, you know, from a right winger to a centerman right in front of the net. That counts, and a shot gets off right away. But the bottom line is you have to have that audible sound. So
sure.
A couple of things that go along with that. So, you know, a lot of people may not know this. You know, I certainly didn't understand blindness and vision impairments when I started, but saying that you're blind doesn't mean you can't see anything. Okay, so there's varying levels of visual impairment and blindness. So in hockey, typically, doesn't have to be, but typically, so your goaltender has to be totally blind. If they're not, they have to wear a blindfold. So the goaltender can't see anything.
Okay.
That can be just because of their own physical ability or because they're wearing a blindfold. And because of that, we can show a picture that shows one of our goaltenders is inside the blind hockey regulation net, and it is a foot shorter, and the players are going to be wearing pads the same. There he is right there. So that's Mike Clardy. He's one of our. Hey, by the way, don't worry about age either. Mike's in his 60s, and he's starting to play hockey.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So he typically goaltenders will stay on their knees and use shuffling and slide between the posts and stuff. And this is an effort the goal is shorter to keep the puck down on the ice, you know, because it's metal, to help, you know, for safety and for people to be able to hear it and track it move around. So he is totally blind. And we have the pass rule so that he can hear it moving from side to side, and he can move within the goal crease to cut off angles and to protect the net. So, and then in front of him would be two defensemen typically, and they could be totally blind or, you know, not, whatever they want to be.
Okay.
But the forwards are going to usually be, there's Sean Bora. He's the guy that started the whole thing. He's a defenseman.
Okay.
Actually, Sean he's gone to goaltending. So if we go back, there's a picture of Sean and Mike together. There's Sean on the right, Mike on the left. So he's now a goalie, but in that other picture, he's a defenseman standing in front of the net. So typically the forwards would have better vision, the best vision, so to speak, out of all of it. And so you get a little bit faster moving game, and your defensemen are kind of more stay at home, you know, just kind of depending on things. At least that's the way we've experienced it so far. So again, no limits. We're not saying that's the way it's got to be, but you know, that seems to be the way it is. And then each player is given a vision classification. When you're on the international level, they're like official, you know, ophthalmologists that will, you know, do vision checks and give you a classification, and you're assigned a certain point value to that, and each club is only allowed so many points on the ice.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I can't load up, you know, 5 players with, you know, the best vision possible and go out and run the goal up and stuff. So you can only, and so they have different color helmets based on what their vision classification is. So a referee should be able to say, well, you get this many points out here because I can see what helmets they're wearing. We don't go through all that at our level because we're more of just recreational sport. You know, that's international play that you would see with Team USA or Team Canada that I'm talking about. But, you know, for these guys, we just we let them play where they want to play, essentially. So
yeah, that's awesome. So do you want me to share some of the other pictures now, or is there other?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, let me go back to the start.
So hey, there's our logo, awesome logo. This is actually an NHL official trademark logo. The St. Louis Blues designed this and gave it to us. That's official
Wonderful.
colors, official logo, and everything. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're not allowed to just use that anywhere, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In this picture, this is Liam McCoy. He's one of our forwards, and if you'll look on top above his name, there's a really cool nameplate. There might be a closer version of that. I think there's a picture of a jersey with just laying on the table. Do we have that? Next one.
The front.
That's Eric in it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there was.
So on the top, you can see actually they've got a nameplate that's in Braille. That was Jamie's idea. She was like, we need to have a jersey they can read. They need to be able to read their name on the back of their jersey.
Right.
And so that's one of our separating things that the St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club does. We're the only club currently with a Braille nameplate, and that is actual raised Braille, official font size and everything that you can put your hands on and read if you can read Braille.
Well, right. You know, your wife, and I'm not saying this just because she's joined us, but your wife is a pretty amazing woman. She is always thinking about those extra things, and they shouldn't be extra, but you know, like that, like putting the nameplate on with their Braille so they can find their own jersey. You know, it seems like a duh, but it does take somebody to think about that.
And you got to find someone with special machinery to do it too. So it's not like something you can just walk down the street to an embroidery place and say, hey, can you do this? Because they'll probably look at you with crossed eyes and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. We can't do that. It doesn't exist.
Right. So there's a couple things before we move away from this that I want to ask you about or comment about. So I see in this picture that the guy in the front has on a blue or darker color, and then the gentleman in the back. Well, I say gentleman. Is this men and women?
Yep, men and women.
Okay.
Yep, that is a gentleman, but yes.
Okay. The gentleman in the back has on white. So, so their vision abilities are different. Is that correct?
Yep. Oh, you're talking about the helmet. So that's just coincidental. We haven't the helmet in our case is coincidental, but you do ask a good question. So the home and away jerseys for blind hockey are like dark blue or black and yellow.
Okay.
There's no white jerseys. It's got to do with their ability to, they need contrasting colors to be able to see, and yellow is the best color versus black or dark blue that they can see. And obviously white on white boards and white ice wouldn't work. So your jerseys in blind hockey, you're either going to be a yellow or dark blue or black. And we obviously went with blue because of our team and everything. But
sure.
But for his case, that helmet's that's just what he's got.
But yeah, if this was at the national or international level, then that would be the difference.
That would definitely mean something.
Okay.
Yep.
So the other thing that I wanted to bring out from this picture is at the bottom of his jersey, it says Healthy Vision.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We love Healthy Vision Association. So in this all these pictures, you'll see us in the Centene Community Ice Center, which is, I should have sent you a picture of this place, but I don't know for sure, but I've heard the place cost $85 million to build. It's got 4 sheets of ice. There's one outside. There's an amphitheater, a little grocery store, a full, hockey pro shop. There's an arena that has bowl seating where, seating all the way around, suspended, scoreboard, concessions. It's like, one of the universities is playing in there. It's a really great complex. And we were an organization before Centene Community Ice Center actually existed. And the Blues were involved in, the planning of, they didn't actually build it, but they were involved in the planning of this complex. And this is where they call their home for practices, and their alumni have their own locker room, and they skate there, a couple of times a week, I think. But we were invited by the Blues to come down for the groundbreaking. And of course, there were a bunch of Blues alumni there Bobby Plager, Brett Hull, and Bernie Federko, Hall of Famer, who happens to be involved with Healthy Vision Association. And again, Jamie ran over there and grabbed him by the arm and pulled him over, and got to.
She has no fear.
I know. I'm like, leave the man alone. He's got. He doesn't want. She's like, no, we're talking to him. So, so he comes over and gets introduced to all the players and stuff, and that's where he was first introduced to, the blind hockey team, and then obviously with our affiliation with the Blues, kind of getting underway, and Randy Gersh, who is our key contact there now, talking with Bernie. The Healthy Vision Association is now our number one supporter. So we really appreciate everything they do for us. They give us financially, they're supporting the team, and so because of them, we're able to buy a full season of ice. And if the player wants to come in and try ice hockey, we're able to get them new equipment or sticks. We're able to buy these pucks. Usually these are we're given so many of these by USA Hockey, but if we were to order these, they're $50 a piece.
Wow.
And I didn't show you before. This is what they look like after a few uses.
Oh.
They're pretty beat up, and you can tell the sound doesn't sound quite the same. But I mean, so when we do practice, we try to get the most out of these we can, and then eventually, the ball bearings come out and stuff. So, there's all kinds of expenses and stuff that come along with having a program like this. And if it weren't for Healthy Vision Association, our lives would be much more difficult. So, I mean, we do our own fundraisers and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if it weren't for them, it would not be as easy. There would be a lot more work to do, let me tell you. So, thanks to Healthy Vision Association, Scott Sage, Bernie Federko, for everything they do for us.
Yeah, and I don't want to forget this question. Are the games ever televised, or is it just because they're local that you have to be in person?
That's an interesting question. So I know if you go on YouTube, you can just search blind hockey, Canadian blind hockey or whatever, and you can see some actual games. And these guys can play. Let me tell you, it will look just like regular hockey. So,
wow.
Along that line, USA Hockey did just announce yesterday, as a matter of fact, that the first Blind Hockey Classic will be held in St. Louis, October 21st through 24th.
Wow! So, congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. That's we were hoping to get it last year, but because of COVID, it didn't happen. So, but anyway, they gave it to us this year. So October we'll have all teams from around, all individuals or teams from around the country and in Canada or anywhere in the world are actually welcome to come to St. Louis and play. So they can register as a team, they can register as an individual and be put on a team. But we'll be playing basically a tournament so you'll be put on a team based on your skills.
Okay.
So there's a red, white, and a blue bracket that you'd be put in. We'll have a little tournament. Do that, kind of have a lot of fun over the weekend. And the plan is that we will have a 3-game series between USA and Canada national teams while we're here. And they'll be playing on that big rink with the bowl and the everything cool.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to reach out to an local organization called Mind's Eye here that does live broadcasts and reads magazines and newspapers and things like that for people who are visually impaired. I want them to come out and do a play-by-play for us. That'll be broadcasted. And I think the plan is to have those games on a YouTube live broadcast as well. Awesome. That's the long answer to the short question. But by the way, if Mind's Eye is listening, I'm asking.
Yeah, I feel like I have a contact at Mind's Eye, so we'll talk later about that.
Perfect.
So I would assume that if this can happen in person and it's at this big arena, that there will be tickets and people can come and watch in person. And I mean, that would be the hope.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a ticket. I think you can come and watch. We would love anybody who wants to watch to come in and watch. We'll be playing games. We'll have the schedule up on our website eventually. I think we're talking about registration opening in May, so we got to get that here pretty quick. Now that I think about it, but we got to get that schedule ironed out, and there'll be games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. So I think people will be able to leave, by 1 o'clock to get home
Sure.
on Sunday. But Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday. But anyway, anyone, we'd love to have people out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I forgot to tell you this too. So we were talking about the puck, and this whole event just reminded me that there's an organization called Lighthouse for the Blind. They do manufacturing and stuff and hire people with visual impairment to give them jobs. So they have an organization here in town, and they have been generous enough to donate some money to the St. Louis University Engineering Department, and have been working with Dr. Jenna Gorlowitz over there to work on redesigning the puck for a couple of reasons. Because you saw how beat up they get, and they make a lot of noise and stuff. But the one issue with that puck is that when it stops moving, it stops making noise. So there are other adaptive sports like beat ball and stuff like that. But the beat balls, we've had them out on the ice, and the beeping just doesn't work well with the noise bouncing off the boards and stuff. It's just not very pleasant. It's not easy to track. And the beat ball just doesn't hold up to. It's a very harsh environment if you think about getting hit with sticks and crossbars and boards, and then it's wet, because the ice, the shavings, they melt and all that and stuff. So the electronics just didn't survive. So anyway, Dr. Gorlowitz is working with some of her graduate students to design a new puck, and they've been working on that for a little bit over a year. But they will also be at the Blind Hockey Classic showing off prototypes and just kind of talking, almost like a science fair, talking about this is what we're dealing with, and this is what we're working on, and this is where we are now. So
that's awesome.
That's exciting too.
So cool. Yeah. So I want to go back to the pictures because we didn't get through them all, and I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk about everything. So that's the back of the uniform. So this is the front.
Yep.
Is it the front of this one, or is this the front of the
that's Tracy Litchke's jersey there that we have, number 8. Yeah.
All right. So I was just curious, like
the same jersey though, just different number.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Was it like the home jersey or the away jersey? Yeah.
Yeah, so there you can see Eric Kaiser. That was the first day we gave out the new jersey. So that's a lot of these folks, the first time they could read their name on their own jersey. So you can see there the yellow, and he's holding the blue one up, but the yellow one's in his hand as well.
Okay.
Big smile. Yeah. He's one of our he's in college right now. He's a he's one of our he's a good player.
Good.
We hope to see him on the national team. So this is Brian Haynes. This was the first time I met Brian at this event. This was a kind of a recruiting event. So we separated the ice skating from the hockey playing. And this is in the summer. We're out in a local roller inline rink and just letting people play with the stick and stuff. And so that's a wiffle ball that we Mike Savak, who's with he's the head coach for head coach for the U.S. blind team, and also the Chicago Blackhawks blind team. But he gave me this idea. That is a ball, wiffle ball that we cut open and put bells from Michael's gift store in, and wrap some tape around it. And so now we have an audible, basically street ball for them to use. And they were just kind of, passing it around and just kind of getting used to stick handling stuff. And that was Brian's first time he had ever played hockey or anything. And he is a natural. So he came out and tried that. And then he came out and skated. Now he's part of the team now. He comes out and skates with us all the time.
I'm still amazed. So this picture we already talked about.
Yep.
This picture we talked about.
There's Sean, just to give you, that's Sean standing in the goalie standing in front of the net, just to give you
Okay.
more perspective of, it's the same size as a regulation hockey net, except it's a foot shorter.
So I see a time clock in the back. So do you play 3 periods like a normal?
Yep, it would be 3 periods. Yep,
And then,
just like normal. That's just the time of day on
well,
that.
yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
that just triggered my thought. I tend to have what I call squirrel connections in my brain. Like I'll
Okay.
see something and it's like 4 steps away from what I'm talking
Right.
about. So
Right.
that's the
No,
only
I get
reason
it.
I try
I
to
get it.
clarify that for people.
Right. Oh, there's Pete Wolf in the background. So I think, I can't go without thanking the coaches that we have in place. So Pete Wolf is standing behind Mike Clardy in the net there. Pete is our goaltending coach.
Okay.
He's just an awesome guy who comes out every Sunday and works with our goaltenders to get them mobile in front of the net and teach them how to play in position and cut off angles. And if we're missing one, he puts his pads on and fills in for them. So that's Pete Wolf there. We also have Mary Beth Thompson, who is our learn. So we split our ice in half. We have one half it's learn to play, and the
Okay.
other half is hockey. So Mary Beth is in charge of our learn to play. She's on our board, and she works with all the volunteers and coordinates and develops practice plans. And on the learn to play side, it's more of a one-on-one volunteer to athlete, and it could be someone working on falling down and standing up, or working on their stride, working on skating backwards, any number of things to get them ready to move into the hockey side, and they move at their own pace. And that's where Chuck Monroe is the director of coaching, and he is in charge of everything that happens on the ice in regard to hockey drills, teams, positions, anything. And he has done an outstanding job. And if you would see the progress that people have made in the few years that we've been doing this, you would be amazed. I mean, it's been unreal to watch. And those 3 folks are the reason why it's happening that way.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so amazing. You talked about skating backwards, and I was thinking, gosh, I can't even skate forwards. And now you have and I mean, I just didn't think about it. It's one of those things where, yeah, of course, hockey players have to skate backwards because they have to keep their eye on the puck and where it's coming at them. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's just another one of those things that I'm like, oh yeah, that's another aspect.
Yep. That's Carter, one of our volunteers, passing the puck back and forth with Tracy Litchke in the background, one of our players. So she's kind of more she's kind of getting close to the hockey side. She's on the learn to play side
Okay.
At the moment, but she's just working on passing the puck and kind of getting the feel for moving around the ice and controlling the puck and stuff like that. So, and then Carter's working with her on that there in that picture.
And now that you've explained the difference in size, I can see it in these pictures, but I really didn't catch it before you showed the difference in the sizes.
Yeah, it's definitely bigger and moves a little slower, and then it makes that noise, of course. So, and then, there's a lot of communication that goes on between I can't tell. I think maybe Tracy probably is passing it to Carter in this picture, actually. But so Carter would be tapping his stick on the ice, calling for the pass, giving her an indication of where to pass to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously the puck's making noise. Or if one of our volunteers has the puck and is going to pass to a player, in her case, learning how to do it, he would, tap the puck saying, all right, I'm passing it to you, so they can kind of zero in on where it's going. And it's just kind of, very basic in the beginning, learning, how to track the puck and how to understand where they are on the ice, and hearing that audible stuff to try and get comfortable with it moving around and just working on it. It's muscle memory. A lot of muscle memory comes into play.
Sure. Wow.
So this is Andrew dressed up in the uniform, and his sister Danielle. They're both players. They took this year off because of COVID, and then just a volunteer skating with them. But Andrew, one of the deals, like I mentioned before, was pushing. He can skate on his own. He does just fine. But one of the good exercise to help you dig your feet, get your butt down, your knees bent, and dig your feet into the ice is to push something around. And so he decided to push his sister around, and they were both having a good time doing it.
Probably the only time he was allowed to push his sister around
That's
and not
right.
get in trouble for
That's
it.
right. And let me tell you, she's got a personality that is would not take much pushing.
Oh.
So.
She stands up for herself.
Oh
In other
yeah,
words.
yeah,
Well,
she's a hoot.
that's good.
Yeah. Louis, that's one of the banners that we have, trying to recruit new people. We were doing an event with Delta Gamma, Learn to Skate, just kind of introducing people and supporting what they were doing. And just, again, the St. Louis Blues showing their support for us, sending Louis out to hang out with the young kids and make them feel comfortable about the concept of hockey. And so we were there just kind of trying to spread the word about what we do and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And then here's one of the coolest things they did for us. This was St. Louis blind hockey only time with the Stanley Cup. After they won, they have, if you're not familiar with the Stanley Cup, it's got people who follow that thing around and take care of it. And they are very protective of it. And you don't get to just hang out with it. And we were fortunate enough with the Blues support to bring that to one of our practices. And so all the players got to hug on it and take individual pictures. And then we got the team photo, got a bunch of volunteers and coaches. Chuck Monroe, I was talking about, is back there in the back left, the tall guy. And then Pete's all the way to the right in the back. David Fields is one of our board members, right next to Pete. He's one of our players, Josh's dad. And then if you look behind David Fields, I'm over on the right, there's a guy sticking his head up you can kind of see his record. That's John Kruska. He's one of our board members. And then all of our volunteers and stuff, Andrew and Alex and Carter and Chloe, bunch of people in there. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. And yeah, for people who are hockey fans, I mean, that's the holy grail, the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, to be able to get that close to it and to, like you said, love on it and have pictures taken with it, that's way cool.
Yeah, there is no trophy that's harder to win than that one.
Really?
I'll tell you that. No way.
Okay.
I mean, you got like 7 game series or whatever it is. You have. I mean,
yeah.
It is an absolute grind and a beatdown. And if you win that thing, you've gone through some battles to get it.
Yeah.
So without a doubt, it was really neat for them to bring it for us to see and take pictures with.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the slideshow. So I think I covered all the pictures that you sent me. I hoped I did, at least. I tried to count and make sure I had everybody in there that you sent me. So if you weren't in the slides and he anticipated that you would be there, that's my fault, not his fault. So take it out on me, not him.
Well, I tried to the video stuff didn't work. I was trying to get some video of some stuff to show you, but we'll make it a point to make a spot on our website or something. We'll put up some more photos and some videos and things like that. And then we'll have, obviously you can get a hold of us if you have any questions, if you want to know if there's a club in your area, whatever it is, we're happy to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just kind of looking over the notes that I'd taken of things, and I think we covered all of the things that we had talked about previously that we wanted to cover. And so I know you have another meeting that you have to get to here in about 10 minutes. So I want to start wrapping up. What is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
The one thing I think we talked about that you and I kind of talked about on the phone for a while was the fact that, I'm painting this picture that's rainbows and butterflies, and it sounds like everything just fell into place. But anyone who's thinking about doing anything like this needs to know that there's a lot of work that comes along with it and a lot of heartache that comes along with it. And you just have to be persistent and power through the struggles. And if it weren't for the people that I'm involved in, David Fields, who's a pastor who talked me off the ledge more than once. I mean, there were times during this when I was just like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, why do I give my time and get this stuff in return? And, there are people out there that want to drag you down, and they doubt you, and there's just all kinds of stuff. And you just have to believe in yourself if you want to do something. And I'm not saying it because I did it. It's a community. It takes a community. You got to organize a group of people to get behind the same mission, and you got to believe in what you're doing, and you got to know that there's going to be some really difficult stuff that's going to come along the way that really doesn't make any sense as to why it's happening. But just stick with it. I mean, that's one thing that you and I were talking about that we really haven't mentioned yet. But
yeah, because how long ago did this idea for this come to you?
So I think we're 4 years old now. So, I mean, as an organization, so 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, I do recall talking about that. And it does seem like a lot of things, have been divinely put in place for you, putting you in the right places at the right time and knowing the right connections to get you into the, different organizations and the different opportunities that you've had. And, but, there's a lot of stuff, it's just like anything, when you think about your famous people, whether they're famous in the arts or they're famous in sports, there's a whole lot of things that they've done that have gotten them to that point. And there's a lot of downs, and we only recognize the ups and the major accomplishments. But there is so much more that goes behind the scenes. And I think that also speaks to the lives of the people that I'm saying to stop placing limits on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negative focus, but we want to focus on the positives. We want to focus on the abilities and the celebrating the successes, whether you feel that success is a huge success or a small success. A success is a success.
For sure.
And, we want to be positive and promote that kind of stuff. Progress over perfection is what my mentor says.
Absolutely. It's easier. It's way easier to focus on the negative than it is the positive.
It is.
And I think, for me to, like you're saying, is essentially find small successes in everything that you do along the way. Even if you don't get what you want today, look for some sort of success that you had in that last meeting that you had, or in that last event you did. What was successful?
Right.
What can we build on and go forward from there? Otherwise, you're sunk.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've certainly seen in our society, when you focus on the negatives, you just find more negatives. So it works the same way. When you focus on the positives, you find more positives.
That's right.
100%. So, yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to pop this up in case you didn't see it. Thank you, Mr. Vann. I will definitely be checking out YouTube. If it wasn't such a long drive for me, I would love to volunteer for your organization. So that's a good question to kind of end on. You said to reach out to you, and you tell the website address again. I'm going to type it in while you're saying it.
Well, it's just the abbreviation for St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. So if you can remember that, it's stlbbhc.com.
So
and again, we are, the season's over, so we're doing a little renovation of the website now. So there's things are popping up and coming down, and things will be changing and stuff. But yeah, check us out, and then you obviously reach out to me if you're, I don't know. I think the person's name was LA. If they want to know,
it's
if
actually my mom.
To them. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Where does your mom live? I can tell you. Is there an organization?
She lives near St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if we can get any closer.
Yeah. No, you can't. Not unless you get into rural Illinois. So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. No. So thank you. So yeah, there's opportunities on the website, hopefully, for people to reach out if they want to volunteer or get more information. And yeah, if you have any questions, if you're watching this on the replay, put your questions in the chat. I come back and check these things. Jeff will come back and I will pass this on to him so that he has the opportunity to watch for questions and comments as well. Again, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, share this as much as possible. This is one of those areas that, I think a lot of people have a bias about. Like I said, I consider myself somebody who doesn't place limits, and yet I've certainly found out that I had put this limit on a group of people. So thank you for sharing everything, and thank you for doing all that you're doing and rescheduling and being able to come on. And thank you, Jamie. Your wife was on here tagging people and telling organizations to jump on. And so you guys are doing amazing with Spirit of Discovery Park and with the St. Louis Blind Hockey Club. St. Louis Blues Blind Hockey Club. Sorry, I forgot the Blues in there. But yeah, just thank you. I can't thank you enough. And good luck in all that you do. And hopefully we'll get to meet you guys in person soon. The world is seeming like it's opening up, and definitely be checking out the Classic in October.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us out on this awesome podcast. So we really appreciate it, and hope best of luck to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you all next week, guys. Bye-bye.